Hi, my name's Toni Burton and I'm the Collection, Curation and Engagement Manager at State Library Victoria. Thank you for joining us today for Collecting Conversations, where we discuss a love of collecting and the stories our collections can reveal about our lives. Today I'm speaking with my colleague Tim Hogan. Tim is Principal Librarian at the library and has a wealth of knowledge about the library's collection. So Tim, as you'd be very well aware, the library has a wonderful range of collections, but often when people think of libraries, they think about our library, they think about the wonderful book collection that comes to mind. But as you'd know, our collections include much more than that. Photographs, personal manuscripts and diaries, maps, magazines, pictures, journals, newspapers, zines, and even old advertising and theatre programmes. And all of these everyday objects, personal records and recounts, as well as the published collections that we hold, weave a really rich picture of the lives of Victorians at different stages of history. And today, Tim and I are going to be talking about ephemera. So Tim, the library has many wonderful examples of ephemera, but perhaps to start with, what exactly is ephemera?
Yes, Toni. Well, ephemera, if you want a dictionary definition to start with, is defined as things that exist or are used for only a short time. The terms derived from a Greek word which was used to describe things that lasted only one day. So for libraries collecting ephemera type material, that means things like brochures, leaflets, flyers, tickets, invitations, cards, menus, labels, very much the everyday thing that's around us all the time, and sort of full of interesting information, very pertinent to that moment, but ironically tend to disappear.
So tell us a bit about your background with working with the library's ephemera collection.
Well, I've been firstly an information services librarian at State Library Victoria, helping people discover our collections, and then in more recent times a collections librarian, which the chief sort of aspect of that role is to help the library acquire distinct and original and rare material. My focus is on Victorian and Australian sort of material, and I've worked with ephemera material quite a lot, including political ephemera, which we have a large collection of. One of my favourite examples from the O'Reilly political ephemera collection is a leaflet that was produced during World War I at the height of the conscription debate. And there was a really powerful image on a leaflet of a mother, and the young boy is pleading with the mother, please vote no, or else I'll take Dad next. And that was produced by the Australian Labor Party, and so they were against conscription. And it's interesting that this exact same image was then used as a counterpiece of sort of messaging by the Australian nationalists. And they just changed the words to say, vote yes, Mum, or else I'll take Dad next. And they had a little extra piece on the top that said, married men are exempt. So therefore, if you vote yes, Dad won't have to go. So, talk about spin. There's an example of it either way. The same image used by both sides. So the era of fake news is not new. And, it's a very powerful image, and it's been digitised. You can see it on our website.
Finally, Tim, what are we hoping that today's ephemeral materials will tell? It's the researcher, the curator, the historian of the future in, say, 100 years' time when they're looking through our collections?
I think one of the delights about working with ephemera collections is not knowing what they will reveal. And we know from our ephemera collections here that, researchers down the years look at them in ways that we would never have anticipated. So that's just a point of why it's important to collect it. I think, if I could sort of speculate, with the COVID-19 environment that we're in, it'll be the smaller details, it'll be the daily things. When historians write the history, they rightly look at the broad thematic and general movements, and they sometimes illustrate that with fine details. But social historians tend to come along a bit later and dig down into the detail, and it'll be things like, how did shopkeepers and retail outlets and chemists convey information about social distancing? how were the signs put up? What were the leaflets? What were the labels? What was the advice given? How was that conveyed? What sort of design methods were used? What sort of language was used? And also, I think there'll be regional variations.
Thanks ever so much, Tim, for joining us today on Collecting Conversations. It's been really fascinating to hear your insight on ephemeral materials. So today's conversation is part of the Memorybank Collective Isolation Project that invites you, everyday Victorians, to share your observations of pivotal moments in time. So please join us. We are banking on you to build the archive of the future.